Hello. Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Leanne Riggs and I would like to thank you all for attending this online session, and also thank you for being patient with us today. Just had one little technical issue, but hopefully that'll all get sorted very soon. So it's really great to have you all with us today for the Victorian Nature Festival and launch of the brand new Volunteering for Nature Fund. What I'm going to do, I'm sure everyone here is tech whizzes, but just quickly, here we go. You should see a Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen. So to ask a question or write a comment as you have been, please type in that box that says ask a question and press enter to send. You can choose to post as anonymous or not. If you are having any technical difficulties, please give Emma a call on 1300 375 323. And if she's on another call, just leave a voice message and she will get back to you. So this session is being recorded. It's just a heads up, I guess, to let you know, and it will be shared with participants after the session has ended and also may be shared with the public. So before we get into the session, what I'd really like to do is acknowledge all the traditional owners across Victoria as we come together from far and wide. For me, I personally am presenting from the lands of the Wadawurrung people, and I wish to acknowledge them as traditional owners on the lands on which I meet with you today. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and those that may be here with us today. As a side, I'd also really love to see where everyone else is joining us here from today. So please feel free to share the traditional owners of the land of which you are currently residing using that Q&A section on the side as well. So while everyone is typing, I'll do some really brief introductions. As I mentioned, my name is Leanne Riggs and I work in the volunteering team at Parks Victoria, and I look after the Volunteering Innovation Fund and am involved with a couple of other funding programs as well, including the Youth Volunteering for Nature Fund. With me here today is Lisa Riley, and Lisa has 20 years experience in professional volunteer management and is the statewide volunteering manager for Parks Victoria. We also have Sa Zhu, who is a community engagement ranger from Western Melbourne and was recently awarded the David Aldous Young Professional of the Year Award. And lastly, we also have Harry Martin, who is an experienced volunteer, having been involved in Parks Victoria's programs such as the Volunteer Track Ranger, and has also volunteered for other environmental volunteering groups as well. And just so I don't forget as well, lucky last is Emma Hickey, and you won't see her today, but she's behind the scenes helping us with tech support. So for today or tonight, as you can see, we are pretty much still on schedule, or pretty tight, but what I'll do is I'll invite Lisa in shortly to talk about the volunteering in Parks Victoria, and then that'll lead into the Youth Volunteering for Nature Fund and what that looks like. And then I'll join Lisa at the end of that and go over the application process itself. We'll then welcome our guest speakers to the fore, and first up will be Hassar and then followed by Harry. We'll then open up the floor for the final 20 minutes for questions and answers. So if you have any questions throughout the session, please feel free just to type them in that Q&A box as we go. If you're like me, as soon as something enters my head and then I think of something else, it's gone. So don't worry and don't wait until the end to put it in, just put it in as you think of it. Chances are, if you have a question, somebody else will be thinking the same thing as well. If we do run out of time, and are unable to get through all the questions that are asked tonight, we'll take them on notice and get back to you. And then what we'll do is we'll wrap it all up ready for the AFL Grand Final public holiday long weekend. We were just talking about this before and none of us have plans yet, but hopefully you're having a little bit more fun this weekend than we are. So without further ado, what I'll do is I'll pass you over to Lisa Riley. Hang on, Lisa.
Thanks, Leanne. Thanks for the introduction and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for attending, particularly on the eve of a grand final weekend, so that we can talk to you about the Youth Volunteering for Nature Fund. And we're really excited to have our guest speakers with us here too, and I can't wait to hear from both of them. So thanks for attending. For those of you who are not familiar with who Parks Victoria is and what we do, we'll start with a short video if you don't mind. Thanks, Leanne.
Parks Victoria, with traditional owners, protects many of the state's most precious places. Significant and spectacular, natural and cultural landscapes. Victorian nature is home to the state's diverse flora and fauna, Aboriginal heritage, and many important historical places. Parks receives millions of recreational visits a year, are a mainstay of regional nature-based tourism, and contribute to healthy communities. Victorian parks make a huge contribution to the environmental, social, and economic well-being of Victoria. We are responsible for managing this diverse public land estate of 4.1 million hectares, including more than 3,000 land and marine parks and reserves. That makes up 18% of Victoria's area and 70% of its coastline. Land management has its challenges: a changing climate, invasive plants and animals, and human impacts are just some of these. We need effective and timely responses to these challenges. We must make well-informed decisions using the best available science, manage risks, and build meaningful partnerships. We want your input on how to do this. Please provide feedback on the draft land management strategy to guide how parks are managed over the next 10 years. We're into nature, and together we will create a better Victoria.
Thanks, Leanne. So as described in the video, we manage over 4 million hectares of natural, cultural and marine areas. And these areas are home to an enormous amount of native plants and animals, which are really important to our ecosystems. Parks Victoria's vision is to inspire all Victorians to protect and enjoy our unique natural and cultural heritage, both for now and for the future. In partnership with traditional owners, we help connect people with country, to understand cultural heritage, to champion the importance of nature, both by managing and protecting, and also sharing these special places with everyone. Parks are a really important place for people's physical and mental health as well. And as well as our huge contingent of volunteers who assist us with so much of this protection and management, we have millions of visitors who also enjoy the parks each year. Thanks, Leanne. So one of our very important partners in Victoria's Great Outdoors program is the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning. You actually might often hear them referred to as DELP. So I'll call them DELP as we go on through the presentation. So DELP have responsibility for managing public land, which covers approximately 8 million hectares of area. So this is actually nearly 1/3 of the state. So it's a huge area. These areas are made up of the parks that we've just mentioned, also forests and reserves and other public land reserves. This gives you a huge amount of land to consider when you're thinking about your project ideas, how you might want to volunteer, where you might want to volunteer, and how it might impact positively on the environment and our cultural and heritage values. So over the next few slides, I just wanted to provide some context around environmental volunteering. So I'm sure you're familiar with the term volunteering. So it's the time willingly given for the common good and without financial gain. When we talk about environmental volunteering, it's people acting in and for the natural environment, including our cultural values and heritage. So when we talk about in and for, this was really relevant in particular in recent times when we haven't been able to volunteer so much in practical environments. So we've really had to think of innovative and diverse ideas to still positively impact on the environment. And we encourage you to consider these ideas as well when you're thinking about project ideas for the Youth Volunteering for Nature Fund. So in 2019, DELP undertook a survey to establish an understanding of what environmental volunteering was happening across Victoria, and this resulted in the Volunteering Naturally report. You can find this online on the Environmental Volunteering DELP site. So the report gave us some really good insight about the reasons why people volunteer, and they're up the top there. So some of the reasons why people might volunteer is that they have an interest in a particular area. They like nature-based recreation and their environmental volunteering links to that. So for example, bushwalking or mountain biking. They're interested in an issue, so climate change, for example, or they have a specific species that they're focused in that they want to help save. Other information that was really important in the report was around what activities volunteers were doing. So you can see from the graph that the largest proportion of volunteers are actually the activities are caring for our landscapes and also sustainable living categories. The other categories were around nature-based experience and citizen science, and we also have wildlife rescue and advocacy in there. The reason why we go through this for you is to think about different ideas that you might like to think of around volunteering for the Youth Volunteering for Nature Fund. So our guest speakers will go into a little bit more detail about the benefits they have derived from volunteering, but we've put a few on the screen for you here now. So it's a really good opportunity to develop new skills and also share skills with others. It can be a pathway for employment. Thanks, Izza. It can be a pathway to employment, meaning it can be something you can demonstrate on your resume, or you can make important connections to paid employment. You can make those connections from a work perspective, but it's also an opportunity to meet new friends, or you might even connect with family or other families. It can improve your mental and physical health, and there's really strong evidence that's linked to spending time in nature and improvements in health. You can make an important contribution to a cause. So in our case, you can make a really important contribution to the environment or cultural and heritage values. And it's often an opportunity where you get to have a unique experience in nature. So it might be learning things that you didn't know, or you might be able to visit a place that other people aren't able to visit. So with that background in environmental volunteering, I'll really briefly talk to you about the Victorian Great Outdoors program. We're so excited about the opportunities that this fund has been able to bring to environmental volunteering across public land, but it's also been able to contribute to a lot of other funding programs as well. So you'll see on the screen there other projects that Victorian Great Outdoors has benefited. So you'll see upgrades to campgrounds, new campgrounds, we've got improved four-wheel drive tracks, and we've seen the building of walking trails as well. In terms of how it's benefited environmental volunteering and the projects that we've seen out of the Victorian Great Outdoors, of course, the first one up there is the funding for youth projects, so the Youth Volunteering for Nature Fund. We've also got the Volunteering Innovation Fund. We have brought volunteer forums. Coast Care have a Coast Care grant focused on coastal and volunteer projects. We're supporting existing groups to recruit new volunteers, and we're expanding visitor service volunteers like our campground host, our volunteer track ranger programs. So getting into why you're all here is to explain what the Youth Volunteering for Nature Fund actually is. And what really we're trying to do with this fund is encourage more young people to volunteer, and also understand what young people want to volunteer in, how they want to volunteer, and for you to bring ideas to us about what environmental volunteering should look like. So during the creation of the fund, we have actually gone out to young people to figure out if the award package is something of interest and how we could make it really youth focused. So we've had lots of feedback, and we've had great discussions about what the award package includes. But what are we asking? So we're asking young people aged between 18 to 29 years old to put forward their ideas that create innovative solutions to inspire more young people to volunteer for the environment, but also have positive impacts on the environment and/or cultural and heritage values of both parks and/or forests. So what ideas will be funded? Well, that's what we want you to tell us. So we haven't got a whole list of ideas that we think that you should do or you should consider. We want to hear from you and what ideas you think would be great in the environmental volunteering space. Our guest speakers are going to touch on some of the experiences they've had. And in a couple of slides' time, we'll just touch on a few examples that we've thrown out there for food for thought. When you are thinking about your ideas, though, what we do want you to think about is how they'll be assessed. So we have an assessment criteria, and when your application comes in, we'll be assessing against this criteria. So the assessment criteria is around how innovative is the project. So what we mean by innovative is it a new idea or is it something different, and does it create value? Does it inspire more people to volunteer? So that's in the volunteerism criteria. And what are the benefits to the environment or cultural and heritage values? The last one is about leaving a legacy. So does it leave a legacy? Will we learn lessons and can it be continued into the future? If it can't be continued into the future, that's fine. But did we learn a lesson from it? And can we develop something that's different or from the idea? So as I said, I'm just going to throw up a couple of ideas in the funding guidelines, which we really recommend you having a look at. Some of the things that we have asked you to consider is maybe fostering inclusion and diversity, supporting well-being, and raising awareness of environmental issues. It don't have to touch all of those, but these are some ideas that you might think of that your volunteering ideas might touch on. And there are just a few examples there, and this is really the tip of the iceberg. So you might create a presentation or a treasure hunt for a local school. You might consider how to design a project that will engage volunteers that haven't been able to be engaged in an environmental volunteering project before. Or you might consider a project that a team can do, like a community garden. Our team is really happy to talk through ideas, but even better, you might like to brainstorm them with other young people and see what you come up with. So if you are successful, what will you receive? So as I mentioned before, we have consulted with a range of young people to determine what an interesting award package might be. So what we've included is up to $1,500 in funding to help you get your idea off the ground, a 6-month mentorship with an expert in the field of interest, opportunities to meet and share your experiences with like-minded individuals, specialised workshops to build your skills, and an opportunity to present your project back to an audience. So I'll hand back to Leanne to go through the details of how to apply. Thanks, Leanne.
Thanks, Lisa. So hopefully by now you're all super pumped and ready to apply for round 1. I don't think Lisa mentioned if it was open or not yet. But anyway, it's open. We've officially launched and opened round 1 as of 9 AM this morning. And round 1 is open for 6 weeks and closes 5 PM Thursday, the 4th of November. So what I will do is I'll take you over to Park Connect in a second, but if you're looking for overarching information, you can find some information on Parks Victoria website. Otherwise, you can go straight to parkconnect.vic.gov.au, and I'll take you there now. And you can find all the information there, and also I'll show you the application process and where the funding guidelines are and FAQs and all of that. So excuse this out of my head because I've just got the screen here to look at it. All right, cool. So as you can see here, what I'll do is I'll come back to the home page here. So this is the homepage of Park Connect, and doesn't matter whether you're registered or not, everyone that clicks onto this site will see this page and everything here. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a little thing here saying the Youth Volunteering for Nature Fund. If you click on that, it'll take you through to the page there with all this overarching information. As you can see here, I'm not signed in yet, so all general public can see this. And what it has here is the funding guidelines that Lisa spoke about, and that goes through what's required. So one of the documents that is required when you do apply is land manager support. So if you have an idea or thinking of something or you want to brainstorm, your local ranger is also a really great person, whether that's a DELP representative or parks, to start chatting with and getting their support for the project as well. Oh, yep, sure. Hopefully that's better. So these are the guidelines here. There's a PDF version and a Word doc version. And it also puts in the assessment criteria that Lisa went through as well. A copy of that is in those assessment guidelines. So when you're thinking of your application and how to answer the questions, you can have a look at that, or when you're coming up with the idea as well, you can make sure it ticks all those boxes there. What else you can see here are these fact sheets. So if you click on this, it's I think it's a Word document that downloads, and it's just a list of frequently asked questions. There's a managing country together fact sheet here, which goes over some of the requirements. And also there's step-by-step instructions on how to apply and answer the questions as well. But I can't imagine you'd be having too much difficulty doing that. We've tried to make it as simple as possible as we can. But if you do need a hand, please feel free to call this 13 number here, or also email volunteer@parksvic. So what happens here is, because I'm not signed in, this register here button shows up. And basically what I'll do, I'll sign in. Because to go any further, you need to be signed in. If you're not registered, it is a simple process where you just put in your details, an email will send to confirm, and then you'll have a registration with the username and password, and you should be able to sign in just like that. So what happens there is you can click this button that goes directly to the application form itself, or you can go to this dashboard here. And this dashboard here is basically like your online management system for your application. So it will show your draft, if you've submitted it, the date, the project name, things like that. You'll also see up here, there's also, you can head over here. So that's this page as well. And my YVN applications, that's the Youth Volunteering for Nature acronym. It's that dashboard as well. So I'll just click on that one there, but that'll, so it gets through to the dashboard, or you can get through to the dashboard clicking here as well. And so I haven't started an application yet, as you can see, so nothing's showing here, but as soon as you have, a draft will save in here, and to start an application, you simply just click this button here. And you should be able to edit, your application until it's submitted. But what I recommend doing is starting an application, going in, just putting like a full stop or something in all the mandatory fields so you can move through to the next page, having a look at all the questions that are asked on there, and then just closing it, and it'll save as a draft in here. And then trying to come up with your own answers on a Word document and go, all right, this is going to have how to answer this one. And then you can get a few other people to read it if you like. And then once you're happy with it, then you can click the submit button. What I'll do is I will find, sorry. Right, so to quickly take you through the process, we open the round, and then, as I said, you have 6 weeks to apply, which includes obtaining all your supporting information. And what happens then is that we basically open it up as we get everyone to create their own application. Once they're ready, they submit that before the closing date. We will then assess all the applications that we've received, make sure they're all eligible, compile all the information and get it to the assessment panel. That assessment panel will score all the applications based on those criteria that Lisa went through, and then those top scoring ones will be recommended. And then what will happen is we'll get, the final tick of approvals, and then the outcomes will be announced, and you will receive an official email from Parks Victoria, from us, letting us know whether you are successful or not. So, as you can see, we have 2 rounds, and the first round is open right now. Round 2 doesn't open until autumn 2022. So as you can see, this is a limited fund, it's a limited opportunity. So what I would recommend is applying to the first round, trying to get your application as good as you can, putting your ideas in. If you aren't successful, it doesn't matter, our assessment panel are really friendly and they do want to see you succeed. So what they will do is they will pass on information in that unsuccessful email with tips that will help you improve your application for round 2. So if you are unsuccessful, we will then hope that you reapply to round 2 just with those tweaks that they've suggested, and then you may be successful in round 2. I see some questions coming up. What I'll do is I will collate them all and then I'll answer them in the end as well. Lisa and I will at the end as well. So that's the end of me talking for a little bit. I think we have Hassar ready and waiting for us now. So I'll just get ready to pass over to Hassar. But as I said, if you have any questions about Lisa and I's presentation, please put them in the Q&A and we'll get to them after Hassar and Harry. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome.
Hello,
Hassar.
everyone. Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Hassar. I'm a ranger from Werribee Park. And show you the picture there. Yeah, this is me and my family. This is my childhood. Me and my brother, sister, and cousin. We originate from Thailand, or a former refugee. The Korean ethnicity from Burma. And yeah, I grew up in the refugee camp. I lived in there for 16 years until I came here. Life in the refugee camp, every weekend, I love outdoor, you know. In part of the reason why I love outdoor, every weekend, me and my grandmother, we went to the jungle where she told me how to find the extra food to cook for family. Next, Leanne. So we talk about the community garden in Werribee Park. So back in 2012, there is the Park Victoria and AIMS. So AIM is stand for Australia Adult and Migrant Employment Service. So they partnership with Park Victoria. So they open up the refugee community to come and doing gardening at Werribee Park, and there is when first start. And volunteer at Werribee Park was a great opportunity, and because not just only that, I learning a lot of the skill and to build my confidence. And I was also working along the different community member, so you can learn different experience as well, and also bring the community together. Next, please. As you can see here, we have the homestead in Werribee Park. So they run the class, the Golden Tithe, run the horticultural class and conservation land management. So they teaching in the classroom there, and at the same time they do the practical work offsite at the park as well. So which is good for student and teacher to gain experience in outdoor. So I'm very lucky. So I got to do the traineeship there. So I studied in the Golden Tithe last 3 years. So in Werribee Park, we also have a lot of different volunteer group. So we have Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, we have refugee group and people from diverse in local community. Every Tuesday we have friends group, which is the volunteer that come and volunteer in the farm garden, do gardening. And also we have a state rose garden volunteer, so they come in every Wednesday. And also we have Friday the heritage orchard, so which is they come in, do the orchard, the fruit tree, they graft the fruit tree and they show it, demonstrate it, and then they teach other people as well if they're passionate about the fruit tree. Next, please. So over the time, I was volunteer at Werribee Park. So I found myself and gaining a lot of the leadership and also growing as a youth leader in the community and working with the special need in the garden. It's helped me to gain and also for them and to enjoy the park as well. So working in the park, it helping the youth forgive their work experience and also for their resume in the future they can, it's ready for them put their foot on the door. Next please, Lynn. So the pathway to employment program, so as you can see here, all my old friends, we did volunteer work together a couple of years ago, and all of them, they got a full-time work in nursery, which is their learning working experience in the past. So easy for them to apply for a job working in a nursery in horticulture. Yeah, I mean, if it was not the volunteering at Werribee Park or Parks Victoria, so I won't be gaining any experience or any confidence. So this launched me into a career leadership in my local community and also lead me a full-time passion in horticulture and also a community engagement ranger at Werribee Park. Thank you for listening.
Thanks so much, Sar. Such an inspiration. It's so great to hear your story. Second up, well, our lucky last speaker tonight, we have Harry. So I will just get Harry ready to go as well.
Yeah. Great, thanks so much, Leanne. And that is a really awesome story, Azar. So it's really awesome to hear. Yeah, so I am 28. I work for a startup out of Melbourne, and I'm here today just to talk about some of my volunteer journey over the last few years. So I've had a few different volunteer experiences recently. I've done some volunteer track ranger work for parks, doing track and park maintenance. I've participated in flora surveys for scientific studies and also to support aerial and satellite imagery. I've also worked with a few different friends groups, some of which has been doing endangered animal species surveys. And more recently, given the COVID situation, I've been a bit more local and worked with doing some revegetation and restoration with Friends of Yarra Flats Park. Some of my favourite experiences, one of them is on the screen there at Cape Shank, which was actually taken from the boardwalk while doing some track maintenance over in Cape Shank. Being a bit of a nerd, I have also really enjoyed some of the more tech experiences, which has been supporting the aerial and satellite AI research that's been done out there in the grasslands. And also some of the endangered species surveys were really cool. We went out and did some night surveys with thermal cameras. Yeah, I'm also really looking forward to some of the COVID restrictions easing and getting the opportunity to get back out there and hopefully, next thing on the list, COVID allowing, doing some lyrebird surveys in Kinglake. Next slide, man. So Victoria is full of beautiful natural landscapes, as we've just heard. The reserves and parks take full advantage of that, and for me, it's all about escaping the brick walls, getting away from the screens, connecting with nature, and getting grounded. Volunteering is important to me because it gives me the opportunity to give back to the community and to help our local environment flourish. I really enjoy and believe it's important for the preservation of our local flora and fauna. And for me, that means preventing further degeneration as well. I also really believe that everyone should have access to these parks, so safe and interesting access to this space. My life has been made more beautiful by access to the parks, and I want the same opportunity for everyone else. Next slide. So beyond the obvious satisfaction that comes from being a volunteer with parks, there are a lot of other benefits. So I can't think of a better way if you want to do networking within the industry. The volunteers and the professional staff are always there to support you, and they go above and beyond to provide further opportunities if that's what you're interested in. The people are always, and I've always found, being passionate and like-minded. If you're social, they'll have a million interesting stories and they're full of knowledge, and I've formed a number of friendships during my time volunteering. Some of the unexpected benefits have been, last time I was out volunteering in Kinglake, Drew Schultz, one of our volunteering coordinators at Parks, actually brought along plant-based cupcakes for everyone, so that was really awesome. Beyond that, there are a lot of skills to learn. I've got a lot of experience through my time volunteering, learned to use lots of new tools, and of course, it's going to always look great on your resume. Next slide. So a question I was asked is, what do I enjoy most about volunteering with Parks Victoria? And for me, it's just about having another reason to get outside and enjoy the beautiful parks, the flora and the fauna, and to feel great doing it through volunteering. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much, Harry. So great. And I never realized there was a flying duck orchid, but it looks exactly like a flying duck. It's pretty damn cool. So what we'll do now is we'll go into the Q&A section. I can see there's a fair few questions here. So what I might do first is I'll head over to Lisa first, and there's a couple of questions. I'll see if I can bunch some up. So one of the questions is, how many award recipients will there be? And I think there was another question here about mentors, the mentorship roles, Lisa. So if you are able to talk about those two things, that would be wonderful, please.
Sure, thanks, Leanne. And thanks, Hazar and Harry, such inspiring stories. It was fantastic. In terms of how many recipients there'll be, so there'll be up to 15 recipients over each round, so a total of 30. I did see a question about the mentors, and we're really excited to be able to pair our recipients up with mentors. Parks Victoria has a lot of different staff opportunities as well as volunteering opportunities. So we have staff across a whole lot of business areas, such as obviously we've got our scientists, we've got our rangers in the field, we have our planners, then we have our marketing staff, we have our media and comm staff, we have our volunteering team, of course. So there's lots of different options for our recipients to think about what interests them, and we can match them up with a staff member. I think I saw another one, Leanne. I'm just going to go with the so you don't have to flip back to you. But there was one under that around how involved would the youth volunteer be in the execution of the project, which I thought was a really great question. So basically, we want this to be a young person's idea, and we want it to be youth-led, and we want it to be youth-executed. Of course, we're going to provide the support that is required to get projects underway and to get projects happening, but we really want it to be the young person to do the project idea and the project execution.
Thank you, Lisa. Did you see the last question that's come up? It says, when it comes to volunteering, is it flexible? If we can only help 2 days, 1 week, and then 4 days the next week, would that work, or is it structured and on a roster?
It's not structured at all. It's completely flexible, and it's really determined by the idea that you come up with. So I guess the trends in volunteering, we see a lot of activities turning to event-based activities. So we might have, one event with lots of volunteers on it, and then not have another event till another month or another 2 months. So there's a 6-month time frame to undertake your volunteering project, and over that time you might have a project each week, or you might have a project every fortnight. It's really flexible to how you design the project and how it needs to get done.
And just to put you on the spot again,
Sure.
One of the other questions here is how involved, oh no, that wasn't the question I was going to ask you. Sorry, it was this one. It says, hi Lisa, will we get the chance to meet other applicants for networking and sharing our journey, ideas, thoughts if successful? The first thing that comes to mind is a couple of celebrations that we're including as well.
Yeah, so exactly. So we're going to have the initial get together where we'll have all the successful recipients do a little bit of a training day, meet everybody that's involved in the program. So there'll be that opportunity to meet each other. There'll also be workshops across the period of the 6 months. So there'll also be opportunities to meet back up with the other recipients. And what we're really trying to do as well is share your story. So not just with the other recipients, but we really want to encourage people to share their story on social media or with other members of their community and the public, so we can really encourage other young people to volunteer.
Cool, thank you. You've answered the time frame here, and I've got, what are the spatial scales of the program? Is it more local council, or can it be beyond that?
So sorry, I'm just reading the question. So in terms of the area, it does need to be on public land, so on land that DELT manage or Parks Victoria manage, so it can't be local council. There is some maps up, isn't there, Leanne, on the application where you can have a look at areas that we manage, and on our website.
Yeah, there's a link where you can have a look and search. But if you do need a hand, just give us a call or an email, and we can help with you and link you up with the applicable land manager as well if you're not sure who that is. There's also a question here, Lisa, that is this the first time this has been run? And if no, what have been some of the great ideas that have come from the comp in the past?
This is the first time, so we don't have a series of ideas that have come up in the past, but there are lots of ideas out there that if you Google environmental volunteers, there's been lots of ideas that young people have implemented across the community, some in Victoria, but there's great examples across Australia and also overseas as well. So lots of opportunity to have a bit of a research on what might be possible.
Thanks, Lisa. I'll give you a break for 5 seconds if you want a drink.
Thanks.
I'll just answer a couple of here. I can see there's a couple of questions about the application form itself. I guess one of the tricks, if you don't want to register yet or you're having issues moving through that online process, if you download that instructions for how to apply on the form, you'll see exactly what questions are going to be asked. So you can use that to go through and plan as well, and type out your own Word doc ready to copy paste into the application form itself. The other thing which I don't think I mentioned as well is that we're giving everyone the opportunity to upload a video. So we've found that it can be really difficult to kind of describe your project or what you want to do in words, especially when you're limited to, you know, 200, 300 words. Tell us what you're doing, and you're like, and it can be so much easier just to actually say it in person. So instead of, if you're more comfortable uploading a video telling us what your project is, please do that. And it doesn't need to be anything fancy. It can literally just be a smartphone video of you telling us what it is. And then if you don't want to do that, then the words, just writing in the text, that's fine as well. With the Volunteering Innovation Fund, we offered the same thing to applicants for the last round. And we had some really great videos come in, and it was really nice just to see the people behind the form itself and see your passion coming through. It was really lovely. I think there was another question here about, does this need to be done individually, or can we work through it with another person who is also volunteering? So the application itself needs to be from an individual. It will be awarded to one individual person, unless of course there are extenuating circumstances and you need someone to support you. Then just have a chat to us and we can have a look at that for you as well. But the actual volunteering project itself will involve a whole number of different volunteers, but I can bring Lisa back in to talk a bit more about that if you're ready, Lisa.
I'm ready. Are you ready? Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it's exactly as you say. Like, we really encourage people to get together and have a think about what project ideas they have, and help each other out that way. We are only awarding it to individuals, but you can apply as two individuals, obviously, and we've also said that people can apply for two different projects, so a maximum of 2 projects. If you think of 2 ideas that you can't decide on, you can apply for both, and the top scoring one, if it's successful, would go through. The other idea is, if you are in a group and you think of a great innovative project, Leanne actually manages our Volunteering Innovation Fund, so you can apply for the Volunteering Innovation Fund as a group. So that's another option for you, and we'd really encourage you to have a chat to us, our team, about those ideas and what option is best, the Youth Volunteering for Nature or the Volunteering Innovation Fund. I've seen some great questions about if you're not successful, does that mean that's the end of the road? Absolutely not. We have lots of volunteering opportunities, and I think Harry's presentation was a great example of all the different types of things that you can do as a volunteer. We're really hoping, obviously, soon that there'll be lots of volunteering able to happen in the parks, and we'll be, as soon as we're allowed, we'll be advertising different types of volunteering opportunities. A couple of the ones that were mentioned that will be coming up over summer are our host programs. So there's opportunities to be discovery guides where you can go and interpret an area for visitors. You can be a campground host stationed at a campground, helping visitors as they come into the campground. You can be a volunteer track ranger along some of our fantastic tracks through our national parks and our forests and reserves. You can be a park walk volunteer. There's so many options. So there's lots of options, and they're all listed on Park Connect. So there's also, I saw a question around missing out on that mentorship. We have fantastic rangers and staff in the field that are always happy to provide assistance and training and support as a volunteer. I did see a question for Hazar, just so that I can stop talking at everybody. So we might throw that one to Hazar, Leanne.
All right. While Hazar is loading up, Jason says, great presentation and very inspiring. What are some of the key points that you think volunteering with parks helped you in your path forward now? Can you hear me? No. What I might do, I think there's a question for Harry there as well. I'll just ask Harry a question. Harry, you had me at cupcakes being supplied by the ranger, and go admit I had me as well. Where's my cupcakes, Drew? The Lyrebird survey has me interested. How do we get involved with that?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I know that it's available on Park Connect to register. So I think Park Connect was shown a little bit earlier, but once you have an account, you can essentially search for the events that you're interested in, and then you should be able to find the Lyrebird survey for Kinglake. And I don't think it's just Kinglake as well. I think there's a few different locations. And then I believe, so I haven't done one yet, it's a matter of essentially camping out and listening out for their calls, and I imagine it might be a bit difficult to spot them, but yeah, just documenting what you hear, and that will contribute. You can also reach out to the park rangers as well. That's how I heard about it. I was actually out there doing some track ranger work, and we just sat down and spoke with the ranger, and he told us about it, and then yeah, I just sort of, you know, kept an eye out for it after that.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I think that's the one question here I've got, but I might try and see if Hazar's back. Can you hear me again, Hazar?
Yes, I can.
All right. Awesome. So what I'll do is I'll ask you, there's a couple of really cool questions here. And I'll just say this first one, and then I'll hand it over to you. So Jason was just wondering what the key points that you think volunteering with parks helped you in your path forward now.
Yeah, I think it's very important. It's to work with the people, someone have an experience in parks, like rangers. You know, like you can gain the experience, and then, you know, like try put yourself working hard, you know, and yeah, I think we give you the you're confident and try to make your friends, and yeah, I think that's very important.
Yeah, thank you. And there's just one other one, sorry, and they've said, hi Hazar, really fantastic story. Thank you for sharing. What other benefits have you seen young people experience through volunteering?
Yeah, I saw a lot of the young volunteer during the voluntary period of time. A lot of them gaining to make friends, to gain a lot of different skill, and they love outdoor. Like Harry mentioned that earlier. You know, it's good, a lot of benefit for the parks, and also for the person that volunteering as well. Like they can share the story, they can learning during that time, and also they can, you know, like it's all different kind of skill that they can, if they're passionate about do something. Yeah, I think they can get it.
Awesome, thank you so much. I might head back to Lisa now, if that's okay, Lisa. There's just a couple of other application questions here, and then what we might do, if they're the last ones that are coming in, we'll answer them, and then we can sign off for the night. But there's a couple here, Lisa. Sam asks, can the idea involve recruiting or including young people, or is it solely supposed to inspire young people after the program is completed?
Thanks for that question, Sam. It's definitely about recruiting and including young people during the project. So one of those criteria that we talked about was volunteerism. So being able to recruit and include young people in your project. But another part was that legacy as well. So inspiring young people to continue to volunteer is a component of it. So the volunteering assessment is assessed at 30%, where that legacy after the program is at 10%. So those assessment criteria and weighting is in the funding guidelines for you to have a look at as well.
Cool. And there's another one here. It says, does the idea have to be park specific, or could it be a series that can be applied at various parks?
Can absolutely be a series that can be applied across various parks. So you might have one that's very specific to a local park area, and that's okay. Or you might have a project, for example, that's around a species that's across multiple parks. So you might have activities at all those different parks. So it can be either.
Cool. Thanks so much. Just double check. Otherwise, I think, nope, they're just saying thank you. Cool. All right. What I'll do is I will send myself light. And just to finish off today, I guess I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope everyone feels a little bit more inspired and has an idea or two for a project. If you just want to, flesh something out, please feel free to give us a call or an email and reach out. Love to hear your ideas and have a chat with you. And go over any other questions you might have as well. At the end of the day, we're here to help you apply and hopefully become successful in this round. So round 1 closes 5 p.m. Thursday, the 4th of November. It takes longer than you'd probably think to put an application together, so don't leave it last minute. I highly recommend not doing what Lisa does and leaving everything to the last minute, but definitely take advantage of the lockdown and the restrictions that we currently have, and impending snow this weekend as well, and have a read through the guidelines and all of the information on there, and have a play around Park Connect. Register if you haven't already registered. And if you have any further questions, as I said, please call or email, and we'll be happy to help. Also, I don't know if I've mentioned, if you want someone to proofread, if you have your application, you just want another set of eyes to go over to make sure it makes sense from an outsider's point of view, we're here to help you do that as well. So thanks again, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight, especially on the eve of a long weekend, and have a great, long, safe weekend. Thank you.